today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the DC Collectibles Arkham Knight, figure number 9, Azrael. Azrael comes included with a sword, a really nice looking figure I have to admit. Down below, warning choking hazard, not for children under 3 years of age. Spin around the side of the package, you've got a wireframe outline of what the character looked like. Figure number 9 down below. And then the other figures on the back consist of figure number 9, Azrael, figure number 10, Professor Pig, figure 11, Man-Bat, and figure number 12, Red Hood. Coming to us from Series 3 and sculpted all by Gentle Giant Studios. Here's your packaging. Spot's going to take a break, get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Batman Arkham Knight, figure number 9, Azrael. There's more anyway, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Azrael's one accessory is this very broad sword. I do like the little accent details, little accent fins that they put on the side of the blade. It actually does a very good job of mirroring the side blades that are on his gauntlets. We'll look at that in a second. The sword itself is really nice. I like how it's wrapped around in that black coloring, offsetting the color of the dark, almost gunmetal, making up the majority of the sword itself. Very, very nice piece. The sword itself does fit into his hand, but does require a little bit of prying of the fingers to get you to fit the blade, because the handle is so much broader to fit it into his hand. And along the way, I've already noticed that the thumb does want to get in the way sometimes when getting the sword into his hand. But it's a very good look, very stoic look of having Azrael holding the sword in hand. Now again, you have some posability options as well if you want to have him displayed more wielding the sword, but I kind of like that little bit of stance there with the sword kind of extending out from his limb. Let's go ahead and take the sword out of his hand. There is no other place where it appears that the sword can fit, not like he's got a hilt or anything like that. I suppose you could kind of slide it down his makeshift cape, but I mean, again, it will be just kind of sticking out the top there. So let's just go ahead and remove it and just put it to the side for the time being. Let's have a look at the figure. The figure is awesome. Just such a great figure. Azrael, one of my personal favorite characters, kind of from that 90s changeover. Eventually he would don the mantle of the Bat for a very, very short period of time. I just really always like the design of the character. Of course, with the Arkham series of games, the characters get a complete overhaul of design. And Azrael here now kind of still gets that red color that was predominant in his outfit before, but gets now more of a white tunic featuring the cross on the front there, as well as a series of pockets around his belt. It looks like he's got a couple of little clips on the sides there as well. Not to mention the big protruding blade sticking out from his gauntlet. It definitely looks though he is ready for a fight. I love all the little, even like the shin guard areas and the knee guards. I like how there's that wear away that they have been worn over time. Seeing that metal underneath. It also looks like he's got the appearance of a chainmail that would have been underneath his tunic. You can even see areas of the tunic itself that had been ripped away, exposing that chainmail underneath. The chainmail also appears to carry over into his shoulder area as well. And I love this little accent, all the little details that they put also in the shoulder area, which I can try to do my best to lift up the cape, but being that it's attached, I don't want to accidentally rip it. But you can see really nice, stellar work on that shoulder area. The face is good. You could try to remove the hood, but for me, it's a design for Azrael. Why would I want to remove it anyways? But you can see how that cross carries over to the top of his hood as well. Fantastic sculpting on the hood. The colors all kind of do well together. They're not bright in any stretch of the imagination. Like the whites are very subtle in color, very dingier in color. The reds, again, more subtle, more of a very light burgundy. The cape itself, too, is a very rubber plastic. And I like how they're kind of fastened together, keeping the strands separate, but also unifying them together to make a full cape. Here's what the back side of it looks like. Quite like, though, that the cape is very as soft as it is. It's not a very rigid, strong plastic. It does give a little more flexibility to the cape itself. Really great figure. I love this figure so much. Now, you would think, looking at the figure itself, that it would be limited on its posability. And I suppose to some areas, yes, that is the case. Areas like the head, it does have a posable head, but you can't really move it all that much unless you try to kind of twist it. But again, like the hood really limits a lot of that motion, a lot of that mobility. The upper torso has a really nice ball joint. So you can kind of angle it down if you want to have the sword kind of pointing out. Again, like he's got a really good range of motion there. He's also got a waist swivel, which was very surprising to me. I didn't think he actually would have had that. The shoulders also, have to admit, little on the limited side. Not only just because they are, because they also have the top shoulder areas slightly getting in the way, but I find the arms are extremely tight. It's not a bad thing. If anything, I'd prefer tight joints over loose joints, but the shoulders are very tight. I've been playing around with this figure for like the last 5-10 minutes, and the figure's shoulders are just still very tight. He does have a bend in the elbow, also a full rotation on the forearm area, and as well, he has a rotation in the wrist. When it comes to his legs do surprisingly give you a good split, which is, again, really wasn't expecting that. Because he has the belt the way he is, my assumption would have been that the belt would have limited it, but no, in fact, the legs move just fine. He does have a swivel cut right, see if I can show you right there, but again, it's very, very stiff. I don't want to twist it too much and cause any sort of breakage, so just gonna kind of leave it be. He does also have a double hinge in the knee, which is a nice touch. And he also has not only a foot pivot, but the foot also rocks as well, which is really nice, especially if you want to get some really good poses out of Azrael. You can maybe get him standing on something with the sword in his hand, or maybe you could have him kind of more of a lunging kind of pose. But again, a lot of that sits around the fact that his head can't rotate, so a lot of the rotation, you have to kind of rely on the upper torso instead. So far, my favorite figures from this line. Well, I mean, that's a hard one, actually, because Red Hood was so good. Also, Professor Pig, I really liked him. And Azrael, I'm loving him as well. So maybe it's just a perfect across-the-board selection of figures. We haven't looked at Man-Bat yet. Certainly he will be coming in the next review. But I definitely think these figures, this Series 3, is working out to be an outstanding line of figures from the Batman Arkham Knight line, or NECA, or the Arkham Knight video game series. Today's Toy Spot, we were continuing our looks at the Batman Arkham Knight. I believe this was figure number 9, and we're looking today at Azrael. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching, as you always do. I'll see you guys next time.